Kelly, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi offers prayers at Srirangam Temple in Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu, takes blessings from Gajraj in the temple premises. US President Joe Biden holds discussions with Netanyahu on the two-state solution in a telephonic conversation, affirms the possibility of a Palestinian state. In sports, Indian shuttlers Chirag Satvik and HS Prannoy storm into the semi-finals of India Open. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi offered prayers at Srirangam Temple in Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu. PM also took blessings from Gajraj, an elephant inside the temple premises. The temple is one of the most ancient temple complexes in the country and finds mention in various ancient texts, including the Purans and the Sangam era text. It is famous for its architectural grandeur and its numerous iconic gopurams. PM also took blessings of the main deity Srirangam, a reclining form of Bhagwan Vishnu. Vaishnav scriptures mention the connection between the idol worshipped in this temple and Ayodhya. It is believed that the image of Vishnu, which used to be worshipped by Sri Ram and his ancestors, was given by him to Vibhishan to take it to Lanka. PM also participated in a program at Srirangam Temple in Tiruchirappalli. All right, moving on to our next story now. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar delivered India's statement at the 19th NAM Summit in Kampala. Dr. S. Jaishankar touched upon a number of issues including food, energy and health security. He also highlighted the challenges of COVID, conflict, climate change, debt and inflation. Besides, he also pushed for reform at United Nations. Dr. Jaishankar emphasized India's unwavering commitment as Vishwamitra to global solidarity and cooperation. He also emphasized the need for NAM to challenge concentrations that undermine our economic security. Dr. Jaishankar also reiterated India's commitment to the NAM principles and its belief in Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, emphasizing that the world is a family. On Gaza conflict, Dr. Jaishankar stressed that the humanitarian crisis requires a sustainable solution that gives immediate relief. He added terrorism and hostage-taking are unacceptable. He said the conflict must not spread. Dr. Jaishankar added that as NAM, we must respond to these challenges. A multipolar world with a reformed United Nations at its core is the key. And in a series of bilateral meetings and engagements at the NAM Summit in Uganda, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met with his counterparts from Bahrain, Bolivia, Azerbaijan and Venezuela on Friday. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar met with the Bahraini Foreign Minister Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani. Dr. Jaishankar shared on X, and I quote him, "Always good to meet Bahraini FM." Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani discussed ongoing developments in the region. And taking to X, Dr. Jaishankar also shared about his meeting with Venezuelan Foreign Minister, saying, "Good meeting with Venezuelan Foreign Minister Juan Gil, discussed our economic, energy and development cooperation, exchange views on regional and global issues." In conversation with his Azerbaijan counterpart, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar discussed bilateral relations and regional matters. Dr. Jaishankar also held a meeting with Bolivian Foreign Minister Celinda Sosa Lunda and discussed cooperation in development and traditional medicine. The Foreign Affairs Minister also discussed bilateral relations with his Serbian counterpart and posted on X, and I quote, "Delighted to meet Serbian FM Ivica Dacic, discuss advancing a time-tested bilateral partnership, exchange assessments on respective regions." Meanwhile, Commonwealth Secretary-General Patricia Scotland said that India has always been at the heart of the non-aligned movement. Listen in.
You know that India has always been at the heart of the non-aligned movement and has provided great help, great support for many of the developing countries who have watched India's exponential growth, watched how India has grappled with the same challenges which are affecting so many of the developing countries and have watched India overcome them. So it's a great inspiration for our members because, of course, they are so delighted to learn from India's experience. And the most important thing is that India has been so happy to share their technological knowledge with their brothers and sisters in the global south.
US President Joe Biden said he had a conversation with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Friday regarding potential alternatives for the establishment of an independent state for the Palestinians, keeping in mind that not every nation has its own armed forces. The White House stated that Biden and Netanyahu had their first phone conversation in almost a month, and that the two leaders discussed ways to secure the remaining hostages held by Hamas and to further facilitate humanitarian aid to Gaza. Biden said Israeli Prime Minister did not oppose all two-state solutions, and there are a number of other possibilities.
There are a number of types of two-state solutions. There's a number of countries that are members of the UN that still don't have their own military. A number of states that have limitations on them. And so I think there's ways in which this could work.
And US Central Command forces conducted strikes against 3 Houthi anti-ship missiles that were aimed into the southern Red Sea. The US military on social media platform X said that US forces identified the missiles in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen and determined that they presented an imminent threat to merchant vessels and the US Navy ships in the region. US forces subsequently struck and destroyed the missiles in self-defense. Indicating that significant policy changes were required, US President Joe Biden said that he is hopeful that the US-Mexico border will work out next week, at least in the Democratic-controlled Senate. Republicans in Congress have blocked Ukraine's emergency funds in an attempt to impose extra border security measures. They blame the surge of immigrants into the US on Biden's policies.
My team has been at the table for weeks now with a bipartisan group of senators to negotiate a deal, including border, because I believe we need significant policy changes at the border, including changes in our asylum system to ensure that we have the authorities we need to control the border. And I'm ready to act.
And in an effort to reduce an unprecedented migrant surge at the US-Mexico shared border, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken met Mexico's Foreign Minister Alicia Bárcena. The meeting follows previous talks in late December last year, which Blinken stated has seen great progress. Last year, record numbers of migrants attempted to cross the US-Mexico border illegally. More than 500,000 migrants crossed the dangerous Darien Gap from South America into Central America.
Also, since our last meeting, I think a very significant development in President Arevalo being inaugurated in Guatemala. This opens an important new area for cooperation on migration between our 3 countries. And we will continue to work together more broadly to develop regional solutions to the historic challenge that we face. But in all of this, our partnership, our work together could not be more valuable, more important.
And US Senator Tim Scott endorsed frontrunner Donald Trump for another term at the White House at a rally in New Hampshire. Earlier, Scott had campaigned against Donald Trump for the Republican presidential nomination. The move by Scott comes just 4 days before the pivotal Republican nominating contest in New Hampshire, in which Trump is facing off against Haley, a former South Carolina governor who first appointed Scott to the U.S. Senate. Thanking Scott for his support, Trump said that Republicans need to show unity.
We have tremendous numbers of endorsements. They're pouring in right now. But having Tim is very important. So now is the time, and you see that through what was just said, for the Republican Party to unify. We have to unify. We have to go after these crazy people that we're dealing with.
And Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley's supporters flocked to New Hampshire to watch the former South Carolina governor campaign in New Hampshire. Haley is campaigning throughout the state before next Tuesday's GOP primary. Haley is feverishly trying to close the gap, as the state is widely seen as one of her best shots to score a win of the former president and keep her campaign hopes alive. And Republican presidential candidate and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said that there is a segment of the Republican voter base that don't want to do the Trump thing again, but who bought into the idea of inevitability during a campaign on Friday in New Hampshire. DeSantis came in a distant second to former President Donald Trump in Monday's Iowa caucuses, the first Republican presidential nominating contest.
Look, I'm not a political prognosticator. Here's the deal. Republican voters, we saw in Iowa, half wanted him, half didn't, roughly. The turnout was abysmal. There's terrible enthusiasm right now based off that result. We'll see what happens here. And I think it's because you have some folks on our side who don't want to do the Trump thing again. And they checked out. And they checked out of the caucus. These were folks we were courting to be able to come out. And they didn't, because I think they bought into the idea of the inevitability.
Time now for a short break. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. India's Ayodhya city is all decked up as the inauguration of the grand Ram Temple nears. American actor Alec Baldwin faces fresh manslaughter charge over Rust movie set shooting. Details after the break.
Rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India. Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Now we get you all the buzz surrounding the consecration of the Ram Temple at Ayodhya on 22nd January. So Ayodhya is all decked up for the consecration ceremony of Lord Ram on January 22nd. Preparations are on full swing and people from across the country thronged on the streets to celebrate the occasion. DD India's Meghna Dev gets us more on this.
If you see right behind me, I am in Ayodhya, and this is the beauty of Ayodhya, the way Ayodhya has been decked up. This is the Surya Stamp depicting the sun, and when we actually see that this place has been decorated with all lamps, lights, flowers and much more. And Ayodhya has been decorated just like it's a festival, and undoubtedly the people here are waiting, are actually waiting for the ceremony, the consecration ceremony that will be happening on 22nd of January, and the preparation of which are in their last lap, and the preparations are going on in full swing. I'll bring to you what's in there in Ayodhya, the place where all this, if we can say, all the festivities are happening, and it's decked up beautifully, adorned with lights, adorned with flowers and much more. Let's bring you what's in store in Ayodhya.
And now we'll get you some exclusive visuals inside the magnificent Ram Temple. In the heart of Ayodhya, where history seamlessly intertwines with spirituality, a monumental transformation is underway. The craftsmanship is awe-inspiring, a testament to India's rich cultural heritage. And preparations for the consecration ceremony of Ram idol at Ayodhya Temple are on at full swing. The large-scale rituals and events commenced on January 16th with the 51-inch idol of Lord Ram set to be consecrated on January 22nd. At the Ram Temple on January 19th, a Yagya fire pit was prepared, guided by Vedic mantras and special methods. A ritual of profound significance for devotees has been performed. On Saturday, the Sanctum Sanctorum of the Ram Mandir will undergo purification with water from various rivers. And ahead of the consecration ceremony of Lord Ram in Ayodhya Temple, Srirangam Janmabhoomi Teerth Kshetra Trust released the entry pass for the mega event. Entry to the temple would be allowed after scanning the QR code mentioned in the entry pass. The invitation card alone doesn't guarantee entry in this ceremony. And one of the most expensive Ramayana, which cost around $2,000 and weighs 45 kilograms, reached Ayodhya in line with the Ram Temple. The outer box of the holy book has 3 floors made of American walnut wood. The ink used has been imported from Japan and the paper is made in France. The speciality of this paper is that this book will remain like this for about 400 years and its printing will not fade, and people of 4 generations can read this book comfortably. And amid the surge of enthusiasm among people for the consecration ceremony of Ram Temple in Ayodhya, the premises were decked up with flowers. Over 1,100 tons of flowers were brought to decorate the temple for the D-Day on January 22nd. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has shared hymns and stories of Lord Ram sung by people of Mauritius. In a tweet, PM wrote, "The wonderful people of Mauritius have preserved their traditions, and this includes Ram Bhakti through kathas and bhajans. Great to see such deep cultural roots and devotion thriving for so many years." Amid ongoing events and celebrations across the globe ahead of the consecration ceremony of Lord Ram in Ayodhya on January 22nd, a special Tesla light show was seen in Maryland in the United States. The event symbolized the peaceful fusion of modernity and tradition while transforming skyline into an amazing sight. And amid rising regional tensions, Iran carried out an air defense drill using drones designed to intercept hostile targets from its southwestern to southeastern coast. On Thursday, Pakistan launched airstrikes against what it said were separatist militants inside Iran. This was 2 days after Tehran struck targets in Pakistan. The retaliatory strikes were the highest profile cross-border intrusions in recent years and have raised alarm over wider instability in West Asia.